What are you doing, Tim? Well now, I'm trying to find the best place to centre the wheelbarrow on a little bogie trolley. That's what I'm doing. And what are you doing? Let me guess. Are you watching someone trying to find the best place for a wheelbarrow on a bogie wagon? Am I right? What a lucky guess. Seriously, thank you for all the hundreds of suggestions on the last weight trials video. There was a big range of ideas and I can't go into all of them, but I'm grateful to you for taking the time and the trouble to make them. Most of those comments fell under two main headings: add more weight to the locomotive or level the track. And of course those would both be beneficial, but I'm reluctant to add more weight than I already have, not just because it might collapse the track itself, but it might wreck the various points along the line. Just imagine 300 kilograms plus my weight slamming into the side of a switchblade. Actually, you don't need to imagine it. This is what it looks like. This is what's already happening, so adding more weight might be asking for trouble, and you know, trouble's never far away, is he? For any of us. So I think the locomotive's as heavy as it's going to get. And as for levelling the track, yes, of course, that would be a good idea, but there isn't time and there isn't money to strip back the existing tracks and bring in a digger again. I've already dug down as far as I can without a rock breaker, so if I went deeper another time it would be a much bigger job, major expense and very noisy. So what can I do in just a short time before the garlic planting season starts? Well, the first thing I tried was replacing the flatbed wagon and just using the two bogies from it. That's why I was figuring out where the centre of gravity is of a wheelbarrow, so the weight can be evenly spread out across all the wheels. Then I made some shoes for the legs to sit in and positioned them on a bogie. Holding the legs securely seems to be enough. It doesn't seem to need anything for the front wheel, and they're not likely to hop out of their shoes, don't think. Okay, so far so good. And then I made a pulling bar so I could connect both bogies together. Very simple. You might be asking, why is it so long, Tim? Well, it's because I tried a short one and it jackknifed on the tightest corner. That's the only reason. Now, at this point, I was quite confident that the locomotive could pull two bogies and two barrows up the hill. After all, last time it managed them, as well as the flatbed itself, so surely it will do that again, no problem. So the test wouldn't really show me anything more, would it? So I set about making a third bogie for a third barrow. Except, as I keep saying, I'm in a hurry, so I reused the ballast wagon I made a while ago. It has the first wheels I ever made on it. are very rough, without much flair on the flanges, and it's pretty heavy, but it does have proper bearings. It rolls easily because of the bearings, so it's fine on the flat, but what will happen on the rise? I don't know, we'll find out. I also repaired a wheelbarrow for the test. Wheelbarrows, as you know, vary in design by a surprising amount. You'd imagine by now that they would be so refined that they'd all be identical and perfect. But no, I have a couple that wouldn't fit in the shoes, so I had to repair this one because it's the same size as the first ones. I inserted a splint inside the broken tubing. And cut a slot down the leg so I can put lots of welds on. It's messy, but it's stronger now than it was when it was new. Meanwhile, it rained and rained. It was too wet to try out anything. And we had the first autumn gale, which blew out the window of the workshop. Very annoying. And that will not be cheap to replace. And also it blew down a small tree onto the line. Are you able to put it out from your end?
I think so. I mean, oh yeah, bend it. Yeah. Can you push?
But eventually, after close to a month of daily rain, there was a gap in the clouds. So Sandra and I and Victor rushed out to test the new lightweight setup. It was a dank and dreary and soggy evening, and everything was dripping. Even that camera seemed to be steamed up. So we just started with the 2 bogies and 2 wheelbarrows. It's a little more fiddly to load them, but once they're in position, they don't seem to need any extra fixing. The camera makes it seem quite bright, but It was really dusky at this time, and we were held up with a breakage that needed fixing.
You nearly drove off without it. Off we go again, all fixed.
Now this, as you know by now, is the steepest part and the real test for Victor the locomotive. But, as I'd hoped, we made it up without incident. Well, you know, I would have been very disappointed if we hadn't.
Okay.
So, back down the line we went to pick up the third barrow. And Sandra stayed in position to commune quietly with the sheep. And I arrived back a few minutes later with the third one, and straight away it's obvious it's not going to work. Again, too steep, too much weight, not enough grip, all the things that were the problem the last time are still the problem. I'm geared down quite a lot, so the engine power isn't a limiting factor this time. See, I'm still learning how best to drive this CVT. It's a subtle and delicate thing, trying to get the balance right between the speed and the power, but I am getting there. And yes, there is some vegetation on the tracks. Okay, yes, I know that. But it's very little really, because this is under the hedge and it's quite dark, so not much grows there. But yes, it didn't help. And for a combination of reasons, the trial failed again. Very disappointing and worrying, because this is not just a hobby, as you know. Growing garlic is how I make part of my income, and we need to pay the mortgage. Anyway, I decided the most useful and the cheapest and the quickest way to try to improve things was to fill up the hollows under the steepest parts of the rails. So that's when I made the inclinometer that I showed you last time, so that we can best target our efforts. I didn't film it because it was wet, but Sandra Kay and I put in about 20 wheelbarrows worth of soil under the tracks in various places on the slope. It hasn't made the overall gradient any less steep, but at least it should be more even. And then Ashley came to help with some more fill, and we tried the experiment again. So everything's the same, except the tracks are a little drier, though still damp, and the gradient is more even. So will that be enough, you might ask? And I certainly asked that very question over and over, especially in the middle of the night. Will it work this time? My aim is to get 3 barrows at a time from the muck heap to the garlic beds. Any fewer wouldn't be good enough, basically. Yes, the Loco can manage the weight easily on level ground, but it's the slope that's crucial. So, you can imagine that I was very relieved when we finally reached the top. Hooray! Great! Finally! Now, quick! On with the next jobs!